Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Welcome to the show with Joe. I am Joe. Today, we're going to be having an all-American badass episode because of my sweet-ass jean jacket stitched with America. I think it's Gap, and I got it from Goodwill. Doesn't get more American than that, buying secondhand Chinese product. So, getting right into it then, let's talk about the scientists. I feel as though things sometimes need to be reported on. Science disappearances and deaths have really bothered me because even just now, before this video, while I was getting set up, I couldn't even find good information other than that all these people are lumped together, basically. It's like, oh, you type in this person's name and it says, oh, one of the 11 scientists missing. But they don't actually say how they died or disappeared. And they haven't actually talked about what they did in science that would fuel a conspiracy theory on why they were disappeared, if that were the case and this wasn't all random. Couple caveats. Almost all of these people, I would say more than 50% of them, have previously, what feels like, found something in their field of work or saw something in their field of work that would cause them to, or provoke them to post something on social media in front of everybody saying, I will not off myself. I'm trying not to say the K word because of YouTube, dumb. But yeah, it seems like they all found something, like on the one side of it, right? Then the other side of it is we're talking about UFO disclosure. While we're talking about like Trump releasing UFO disclosure right before this all happens, more scientists start like disappearing. And what I want to do is just make sure that everyone knows what's going on here the best that I can in my, let's just say I search so you don't have to. So this is my, honestly, if you type in just straight up Reddit, you'll find it. But if you type in anything on Google, and I'll prove it right here. Watch this. So this is one of the scientist names, but like, look, right? First page of Google. Remember Google, it used to be pretty good past page 1. Like, so at least related somewhat. So he talks about the guy on the first page, right? Mysterious NASA death, right? Okay, let's go to page 2. Carl, in 3 days we head off to Argentina to represent our Carl Franch and John Fury, and it's in Chinese. Predator. Carl makes an excellent point, and it's not even related on the second page anymore. That's crazy to me. So anyways, the most clean one I saw was on Reddit by Valuable View 561, and I just want to run through the amount of craziness here. So I also have tabs for all these people, so I want to make sure we get real detailed on what they did and then speculate a little bit on what's happening. So Amy Eskridge, anti-gravity propulsion, UFO extraterrestrial research, and did electrostatic propulsion. Died June 11th, 2022. Cause of death, ruled self-inflicted gunshot wound. FBI status, oldest case in the FBI review. Let's pause for a second after the very first person, and we'll get back to her momentarily. Imagine the implication of 0 point energy, or just energy being free. And this is the dark truth. It's why you hear every so often that there's cancer pills or something, or sound waves or something that potentially could stop the problem altogether. But cancer is one of the leading causes of death, definitely top 5 or top 10. How, if you're a business, your best way to succeed is to have returning customers. Let that sink in for a second. Why would, if the world is in charge of If there's like 3 main companies that are in charge of everything and are all on the same page and are all doing their own thing, not proven, but it's damn near close that they're all working together. It's damn near close to the truth. And this situation itself, this would topple a large sum of money and a large sum of jobs. Imagine, number one, think about your life right now. What are you spending money on the most? You're spending money on your electric for your house. You're spending money on food, right? You're spending money on how much your mortgage or your rent. You're spending money on driving and gas. You're spending money on Netflix, which, okay, you're spending money on Uber Eats, whatever, Uber Eats even. So obviously, if energy was free and you didn't have to pay for energy, then that would be a giant gain for you, but it would be a giant loss for the company. Food prices. Food gets delivered. Food has costs involved with it. Unless you're buying local for everything. I mean, even then, they use gas for their tractors. So if there was 0 point energy, not only would you not have all of the people working at PSE&G or wherever you're from. I'm from New Jersey, and that's what we use. They wouldn't have a job other than handing out these free to use energy sources. It wouldn't be able to justify the cost for food. It wouldn't, or anything really, because the reason that things cost so much is shipping, and shipping is a direct link to the gas that they use to get there and the manpower to get there, right? If gas was free to get there, prices should plummet. Gas would go out of business. Think about that. All of gas would go out of business. So your 0 point energy would work fine with a boat, with your house, with planes, with flying planes. I've dealt with this a lot lately. Planes flying and that cost of flying, 0 point energy. And that's a whole different thing that I'm actually going to write down right now. Because I believe it if you want, believe it if you don't. But it's kind of hard for me to believe that gas goes into the wings of planes like they say. And when gas gets used up, usually it goes down in your gas tank. Wouldn't that affect how the plane flies? Just saying. I'm on hardcore conspiracy right now. So that's my point. And a little bonus action here is if you go to watch the new Bob Lazar documentary on Amazon, it's supposed to be an AI version of his recreation of the events created by people that are experts in helping people recreate AI in like rooms and like for him specifically his job. Bob Lazar, if you don't know, worked for the government and spoke out almost immediately when he got let go. He got let go because the government thought that he would be compromised because the government bugged his house and found out through the phone calls that his wife was cheating on him and thought when he found out he would lose it. So Bob Lazar allegedly, I mean, who knows? But the evidence of covering it up is pretty much there. Worked on a project in Area 51, a little bit south of Area 51, and was working on back engineering a UFO craft. I would recommend watching that, and he goes into detail on what the 0 point energy looks like, and it's element 115. I'm fairly certain it's 115. It's 115 or 315. I'm pretty, 95% sure it's 115. And just as a quick letting you know, how would that work? Well, here, let me tell you. You should go watch it, though, either way. But it's a little triangle, like this big. And it goes into like a little slot. The slot then has a cover to it. And then it leads to a output of some sort. It looks like a desktop, like a square desktop thing, right? That your computer uses. Then a sphere goes on top of it, and then they're able to create the energy they need without it actually being plugged in, which is insane. So if all it took were squares instead of a giant gas tank with gas in it, I mean, it can't be easier than that. It could fit in everything. It could literally fit in everything from boats to planes to cars to whatever. So let's dive into these scientists that went missing. So I already talked about that. I already talked about her. So she's an interesting one because she disappeared in 2022, and I'm pretty sure she's the one. I also have. She's the one. Like, bear with me. She's the one. She had a. There was a 4chan message chain that went around, and her messages were on there, and she was terrified, and she actually got injured by some technology that we may not have, which sounds crazy, but I'll try to find it. All right, who's the next person? We got Michael David Hicks, research scientist, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Sunland, California. Research areas: asteroid characterization and deep space observation. His research methodology was foundational to Blue Origin's Neo Hunter program. Died July 30th, 2023. Found dead, deceased at his Sunland residence. Cause of death: unknown. No NASA statement. Worked at JPL until 2022. Frank Maywald, principal scientist, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Planetary Robotic Systems, JPL Deep Space Missions. July 4th, 2024. Died at 61. Cause of death undisclosed. No statement from NASA. Career: principal scientist. Propulsion, huh? Studied propulsion and deep space. Interesting. Anthony Chavez, retired employee of Los Alamos. Research was classified. Decades of work at LANL before retiring in 2017. Has gone missing since May 8th, 2025. Details. This is a weird one. Left behind his keys, his car keys, his phone, his wallet. Just walked out the door one day and just nothing. Monica Reza, Materials Processing Director, NASA. Aerojet Rocketdyne. Rocket Materials Engineering. Patented nickel super alloy used in Starship and New Glenn reusable rockets. Sounds like she disappeared without a trace. Found despite... No trace was found despite 2025 search. So not only were the propulsion people, it was also someone that literally patented an alloy like outside of a ship. Melissa Casillas, Administrative Office, Security Clearance, Los Alamos National Laboratory. Research classified, highly secure clearance. So she probably saw stuff while she was standing there and watching the desk. Details: car and belongings found at home, both personal and work phones, factory reset before disappearance. Family says disappearance was not voluntary. She had plans to care for her mother after upcoming surgery. What the heck? Steven Garcia, Nuclear Weapons Asset Oversight, High-Level Security Clearance. Last seen on surveillance footage leaving his Albuquerque home on foot carrying a handgun, leaving behind his vehicle and personal effects. Jason Thomas, Assistant Director, Active DoD Contracts. So this guy was a contractor. Pharmaceutical Research and Cancer Treatments. Disappeared in December 2025. Body found in Lake Quamapat, Massachusetts, March 17th, 2026, 3 months after disappearance. Nuno Loureiro, Director of MIT Plasma Science and Fusion Center. Fatally shot outside of his home. Carl Grimmer. I believe, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but one of these guys was on Ancient Aliens, surprisingly enough, but he was found shot dead February 16th, 2026, on his front porch, of all things. Ooh, man, isn't that scary? Propulsion. So the mysterious death from this one, that is Amy Eskridge. New attention being drawn, disturbing details. Authorities ruled her death a suicide by gunshot, but the contents of those messages are now raising questions. So the U.S. government repeatedly denied existence of alien technology, secret anti-gravity programs. However, Eskridge herself claims she work was part of a broader push towards public disclosure of advanced technologies, long discussed in connection with UFO and UAP research. Reports have even alleged a direct link between Ms. Reza and General McCaslin, characterizing them as having a close professional relationship through an Air Force-funded research program in the early 2000s pertaining to advanced materials needed for reusable space vehicles or weapons. I want to see if this comes up. Amy Eskridge messages. So here were Amy's messages. 34-year-old scientist specializing in anti-gravity. Her text dated May 13th, 2022 to her friend and former British paratrooper Frank Milburn. She wrote, "If you see any report that I killed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I overdosed, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I killed anyone else, I most definitely did not." And added, "If anything happens to me, suicide or accident, it wasn't. It's suspicious. Treat it as such." She also, this is the weird one. She also shared images of injuries she claimed were caused by a direct energy weapon, describing burns and lesions on her hands and feet, neck, and back. She indicated that a colleague with weapon experience identified the device as an RF K-band emitter powered by car batteries. In addition, she reportedly told Milburn that she had been documenting harassment and intimidation and planned to make it public, emphasizing her fear of safety. And earlier in 2019, Eskridge appeared to be warned during a research presentation about potential consequences of revealing her work. Observers interpreted the interruption as a cautionary message rather than a technical debate, highlighting her concern about the threats related to her research. In interviews and podcasts, Eskridge expressed that going public with her anti-gravity research could be dangerous, stating, "If you stick your neck out in private, they will bury you. They will burn you down your house while you're sleeping in your bed. It won't even make the news." These statements reflect awareness of her potential risks and intent to alert colleagues and friends to treat any untoward event as suspicious. I want to see, I can't find the actual messages. It's really annoying. Okay, is this it? Will they show us? Daily Mail. Saw that already, right? The story was she was sitting in her room typing on her laptop, and her sister was there. And she was like, she could see the window. Yeah, look, here you go. So you could see the window, or she could see the window, but her sister couldn't. And she thinks there was see that her hands are like burnt right there. It's pretty crazy. So she thinks someone was standing outside the window and shot this gun inside, like a radiation blast, and it hit her, like all her face, body, neck, and everything up to where her fingers were on her keyboard. And it perfectly matches where her wrists were over the table, which is terrifying. My whole upper body was typing. See that? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Tony Chavez was another one. Retired Los Alamos National Laboratory employee, has been missing since May 4th. 78 and longtime employee. Last seen in his home on foot, leaving by car, wallet, keys, phone, and other personal items, which were all found inside his residence. His disappearance was reported May 8th, 2025. Despite extensive searches by local police and coordinated agencies, no trace of him has been found. Circumstances. His case is notable for its unusual characteristics, which mirror a pattern among other scientists and personnel linked to sensitive U.S. research programs. Leaving home on foot, no signs of struggle, force, or entry, foul play. Connections to high security government, banking, and communication activities ceased immediately after his disappearance. They're still treating it like a missing persons case. Disappearance, particularly those associated. Other notable cases we were talking about. Current status remains missing. Another weird one. Frank Maywald. His cause of death was never made public and no autopsy was performed. Maywald was known for leading breakthrough research that could help future space missions detect clear signs of life on other worlds, including Jupiter's moon Europa, Saturn's moon Enceladus, and the dwarf planet Ceres. His death has been reported in multiple sources. So did he find life? Like, was he close? Does he not want people to, do they not want people to know how to do that when they're in space? Pretty crazy. Nuno Lorario, I don't know much. Like, I'm learning this as I go with you, but he was a plasma researcher. Shot in his residence. Fusion energy. He returned to Portugal, joined MIT as a professor and fusion scientist. He studied magnetic reconnection and plasma turbulence. Wasn't I just freaking out about planes? Using compulsion simulations and published widely scientific journals. He became a full-time professor in 2021. He became deputy director at MIT Plasma. Like, it doesn't really go into it. It's kind of crazy, but if I see the word magnet, then I'm starting to think of Bob Lazar, because, again, he was talking about when you turn that thing on with the little triangle and the little ball, he could, like, put his hands, like, gravity on. Like, if the ball was here, he could push, but he couldn't touch it. If he turned this thing on, it was like he could lean on it almost. Like, it felt like two magnets that are the same, that aren't touching, that you're trying to touch them, but you can't. But it was super, super strong and consolidated. That just makes me think that he had some kind of knowledge of technology that would lead to 0-point energy, or at least something. Melissa Casillas. This is the front desk agent, it sounds like. Background. Disappearance. Dropped off her husband at work. Melissa also works at the lab, but returned home to work remotely since she had forgotten her employee badge. According to her niece, Melissa stopped at the post office, then dropped off lunch for her daughter at some cafe. When Sierra returned home from work, she found her mother gone. Her vehicle was at her house, as well as her wallet, phone, and ID, but there were no signs of Melissa. Her husband reported her missing around 5 p.m. Shows her leaving the John Dunn shops in downtown Taos, then entering her car and driving away. She was walking alone, headed south. Her family later confirmed it was her by viewing doorbell camera footage. That's the last time you saw her. That's crazy. It doesn't say what she did. Maybe she was just working the front desk and saw some stuff. I don't know. Maybe they had the Russian alien inside or something. Carl Grimlar, Canadian astronomer. He studied exoplanets, galactical structures, and dark matter. He collaborated on prominent NASA telescope missions, including the Hubble Space Telescope. I just did that face because the Hubble Space Telescope is being very hardcore censored right now. I wasn't that deep into this like a month ago, but it's just too convincing. Every time there's something weird on NASA, they cut the line. If you didn't know that, there's like a live feed 24/7, but like once a day, it seems to like cut out because they're finding shit. Study of astrophysics of globular clusters in extragalactic systems using Hubble images and spectroscopy. Co-investigator of the Virtual Planetary Laboratory, he led the exoplanet search team at California Transit Authority from 2005 to 2007. Grimoire was fatally shot in his front porch in Llano, an unincorporated community in Antelope Valley, California. The shooting was reported between 6 a.m. Paramedics pronounced him dead on the scene. Single bullet wound to the torso. The man was named 29-year-old Freddie Snyder, who on February 18, 2026 was charged with the murder and separately of a carjacking and burglary. Still very strange. He also enjoyed classical and rock music, cycling, and clean energy. Why is that listed under his personal life? Very weird. Jason Thomas, who was the contractor. Last seen by his wife of 10 years, just midnight before December 12th. Missing for more than 3 weeks. They did find his body. Amy Eskridge died by suicide in Huntsville, Alabama. One of Eskridge's friends said she told him that if she died by suicide, it would not be true, and stated she was being targeted by a directed energy weapon. These messages are trippy as heck, and you should try to find them. I couldn't find them. They're on, I saw it on a Reddit link to 4chan. But she goes in detail, and they go back and forth between the pilot guy that she was with. And they were talking about how It was probably contractors coming after her, which is kind of leads to what I was talking about in my little monologue with how energy would destroy everything, like free energy. So I mean, the contractors have a lot for that, right? Like they have their whole everything based on that. All of their monthly subscriptions to energy, water, everything. Oh, this is another one. There was an Eastern European man in a Lexus tailing her before her death. You can 3D image what I'm typing because the computer. You can get a 3D image of what I'm typing because the computer doesn't have a Wi-Fi card. You can't hack it, but you can maybe get a 3D image of me typing. So, like we just did that and did that as an act of pure desperation. As she pans the camera to block her window, Eskridge said that she felt better immediately after blocking the window. My hands still burn because they're damaged, but it's like my body relaxed when we barricaded, and it was like a relief, like immediately. My CIA weapons guy on my team saw my hands when they were burned really badly a couple months ago. He saw the window pane in person. There's no way out of this fucked up situation until I publish. I mean, that's a way to get yourself offed, right? That's crazy. That's so crazy. Monica Reyes case surfaced as Trump launches probe in the missing scientists. Detectives from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are seeking assistance. President Trump has officially launched an inquiry. Matter as serious. Aerospace engineer Monica Jancito Reyes, co-inventor of a key U.S. rocket alloy, vanished while hiking in 2025. Her and that guy's also gone too. That was more recent. Records show that Reza co-patented burn-resistant and high-strength metal alloys that confirmed her background. So she probably knew something, right? She knew how to... Yeah. Disappearance of the Albuquerque government contractor, another contractor, has intensified speculation around possible missing defense-like figures tied to the UFO disclosure narrative. 10th person, actually there's 11 now, oversaw tens of millions of dollars of assets, equipment, and some classified, some not. The officials had said he may have been in danger to himself. I did notice some neighbors in the area, and he lives a very remote area. They also worked in aerospace research. There's a striking similarity with the ongoing case of William Neal McCasland, who has been absent since February 27th. It's the same thing. The state of New Mexico. So yeah, scientists going out the window. I can't imagine that. I mean, I guess there is a world where all of this strange stuff happening to all these really smart people. To me, again, I just think it's government contractors that knew too much. It's scientists that knew too much and could potentially publish after a certain period of time, and really drive a stake into free energy. And the crazy part about it is even if they said, if all of these scientists before they died came out and said that there's a way to get stuff working, unless you had access to the materials you needed to create that item, then I don't think anybody would even bat an eye at it. I think they would just continue whatever they were doing. Even with the UFO disclosure stuff, if that really does come out, at this point, who's even going to believe the government? I mean, you're going to get people that look into stuff and they'll be able to make connections on their own, sure. But until that happens, you're not going to ever take what the government says plainly. It's just a giant money passing along from the poor people to the rich people and sucking every little bit out as they possibly can, no matter what, and never admitting to anything wrong with zero repercussions whatsoever, consistently forever, with protections in place to make sure that keeps happening over and over, that I really don't think it would have made any difference either way. Unless it's like, take a Sharpie pen and take a piece of bubble gum, you put that together and then you have 0 point energy. Or, and hear me out, what if it's just a frequency? What if you just buy a frequency machine and that's all you need? You'd have to know where here's the crazy part that I didn't talk about was element 115 was not a thing. Like it wasn't on the table of chemistry. What's that called? The table, scientific table, the element table of elements. It wasn't on the table of, is that what it's called? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? The one that's got like the weird shapes. A bunch of squares for all the letters, and all the weightless stuff are towards the top. Anyways, yeah, so element 115 wasn't on there. Bob Lazar said it existed. Now guess what? It's on there. It was discovered. So I don't know where I'm going with all this. You can do this information with what you want, but I find it weird, and I felt like I should say something about it. But just like everybody else, I can't do anything about it. So I'm not, other than make a video. This has been The Show with Joe, and hope that creeped you out. Bye-bye. Smell you later.